Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to E2 Effective Elders. This is our monthly podcast, and it's our privilege today to welcome Jeff Reichanadter, and he is on the staff team of Indian Creek Christian Church, known as The Creek, in Indianapolis, Indiana. Jeff, welcome. Thank you for saying yes to this opportunity. We're most grateful.
Yeah, thank you, Gary, so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for what you do to serve churches. Man, I was a lead pastor for about 8 years in downtown Indianapolis, and what I wouldn't have done to have E2 working with us, with our leadership team. I'm just so grateful for everything you all are doing.
Yeah, well, and for those who are watching and or listening, it's been my privilege to become acquainted with Jeff, his wife Adrienne, their family. They have crossed paths with the Creek, and they joined us. How many years ago did you join us?
2.5 years.
Okay. And Jeff is just hitting the ball out of the park in terms of using his spiritual gifts that the Lord has given to him for the purpose of investing in the lives of people. And I've invited Jeff to come and speak on what really is at the heart of his life and how he is sharing that with men and women all around him and far beyond the creek. And it's something that I believe will be a blessing to everybody who listens in to this podcast. So, Jeff, in a nutshell, why don't you first of all talk about what it is that you do for Jesus here?
Mm. Yeah, so when I started having conversations with the leadership at the Creek, I was at a crossroads in my life and had been on a hike while I was on sabbatical, and on the hike just felt like God spoke to me an identity piece. This is who you are. You're a pastor, you're a pilgrim, you're a poet. And so I want you to live your life out of that identity. So I want you to shepherd people um, through spiritual direction and just caring for their hearts. I want you to guide people on pilgrimage. People come awake to God when we get into the wilderness. And then I want you to connect your story, that poetic piece,
Mm-hmm.
help people connect their story to the grand story of God. So doing this on retreats, putting them in contexts where they're awakened to that. So anyway, I was talking with Dan Hamill and Laura Dingman, who are on staff here at the Creek, and just sharing some of those things are really important to me. And they said, well, that's what we're hoping for here at the Creek. Why don't you come and lead men into the wilderness and serve the men in our church? You can serve our leaders with spiritual direction. So we actually have a school of spiritual direction that we do here at the Creek. It's my privilege to get to be part of that, and then I get to do some preaching and teaching and working with leadership development. And leadership development for us is less about training you how to be a good leader, but helping you to develop your life in God. And so that sits underneath all the
Mm-hmm.
things that people are
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. And so as a part of that, what you just talked about, developing leaders is about their life in God.
Yeah.
And Jeff is joining us this coming Friday and Saturday at Leadwell from Within. It's about a leader's interior world.
Mhm.
Now, when we think about this, you're working in the formation aspect of individuals' lives, their spiritual formation, their interior world. And it's not just for men, because I know that your ministry is reaching beyond and impacting women as well. You know, leadership is influence, and many women have influence. A mom has influence, a grandma has influence, and so on. And
Mhm.
so, as we think about a person's walk with God, their spiritual formation, what are questions that we need to be paying attention to in our life of faith, this journey?
Yeah, that's Gary. Last week I had two conversations, and these maybe help me think about that a little bit. One was with a man who's 70 years old. He's
Mhm.
been a pastor and a counselor for most of his life. And I asked him a question about, what is it in you that is the unique fingerprint of God in the world?
Hmm.
And this man said to me, I've always been too afraid to ask that question.
Wow.
70 years old, works at a mega church here in the States, and just felt this like resistance that he wasn't given the permission to actually know who he is.
Mhm,
And I think that's the question is like, well, who has God uniquely made me to be,
mhm,
bear his image in the world? Later that week, I was meeting with a couple. Adrian and I were meeting with a couple we were mentoring, and this young lady was really conflicted around choices that she was making. She felt like everything she needed to do was kind of in this right or wrong box.
mhm,
And what
mhm,
I asked her was like, well, who has God made you to be? And she
mm,
said the same thing. I don't actually know.
mm,
And so
mhm,
I think one of the fundamental questions is when had me in mind, Psalm 139,
mhm,
Genesis 1 and 2, what did he think of it when he made you?
mhm.
And so to be able to give ourselves permission, God, who do you say that I am? That was the question Jesus asked Peter, and it
Yeah.
unlocked something for Peter. But I think for us to go, and God, what about you?
Mhm,
Who do you say that I am? And
mhm,
when I can give myself permission to receive an identity from God, you think of what Jacob did. Here he is. He is Jacob. He is the deceiver. He's the heel grabber. He
mhm,
has lived his life just trying to manipulate a way forward. And finally, in a wrestling match with God, this person he's wrestling with, the probably the pre-incarnate Christ, and he
mhm,
says, "Let me go." Well, I won't
mhm,
let you go until you bless me. And the blessing was
mhm.
God tells him who he is.
Who he is. Mhm, yep.
You are no longer
Mhm,
deceiver.
mhm,
This has only gotten you so far, but now you've wrestled with God and with man and you've overcome. And the overcoming, I think, is about your becoming
mhm. Yeah.
the person
Mhm.
I've made you to be, and I'm going to bless the world through you. So when we receive our name, our identity from God, now we also know what God has for us to do.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point when you bring up that text. How many of us wrestle with God about our identity?
Hmm.
We have not come to grips with being a son of God, a daughter of God, and how God unconditionally loves us. He's prepared for good works for us to do long before we drew a breath. And we wrestle with God about our identity. And until we come to grips with that, just like you on your sabbatical,
Hmm.
uh, those were three very powerful words that the Lord revealed to you while you were walking alone with God, getting away from distractions so that you could hear the still small voice of God in your life. You know, maybe we
Hmm.
need to stop striving, wrestling, and start sitting or moving into stillness to hear Him. That's good.
There's an author named Trevor Hudson, and he talks about two cycles. One is the cycle of grace, and one's the cycle of works. And
Mm-hmm,
he says in the cycle of grace, we see the picture of Jesus. This is my beloved, out of the belovedness. So
mm-hmm,
he knows who he is.
mm-hmm,
You're accepted. And then he goes and spends time with God. And then he does this amazing, ministry for God. And then God brings the fruit. And
mm-hmm,
Hudson says, we try to reverse engineer it. I want so badly to be loved
mm-hmm,
that I strive to produce fruit. Then
mm-hmm,
I'll become significant. And then I'll feel okay to spend time with God. And maybe he'll love me and I'll know who I am. And
mm-hmm,
so, Jesus gives us a picture of just beginning with that. You're
mm-hmm.
loved. You're in relationship with me, regardless of what you do.
That's powerful, buddy. As you were saying that, I was thinking about the baptism of Jesus. A
Hmm.
voice from heaven was heard saying, "You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." Jesus hadn't done a single miracle yet.
Right.
Yet he didn't have to earn that love. I love you. So I think that speaks powerfully into my life.
Mm.
Let's begin with this unconditional love of God and allow that through the power of the Spirit to bear fruit. Let's not reverse engineer that. All right,
Mm.
good. Hey, what are some of the important questions that we need to be asking ourselves on this journey?
Yeah. I, I think one question I'm kind of wrestling with is what's the main thing? So when I was
Hmm,
growing up, I had a mentor named Tom Ditto. Every time we would get together, he would tell me two things.
Mhm.
Keep the main thing, and finish strong. That
Mhm.
was just like his benediction every time we met.
Mhm.
Well, over the years, I think for me, the main thing when I was younger, I really thought was about what am I going to do to
Mhm.
make God love me more? And what can
Mhm.
I do less to make sure that I don't sort of walk away from God's love?
Mhm.
And then in these last probably 10 or 15 years, I've really pivoted toward the question is, who am I becoming? How is God transforming me? And in
Mhm.
some ways, my goal began to be a transformed life, which is, Romans 12, be
Yeah.
re, transformed by the renewing of your mind. Um, and I think that's important. God cares that I'm actually becoming more and more like Jesus. And one day I'll see him face to face and I'll become just like him because I'll see him as he is.
Mhm.
But I'm finding I probably a more of an invitation, not so much into transformation, who am I becoming, but
Mhm.
relationship.
Mhm.
God so loved the world. He loved me.
Mhm.
That whole story about Jesus coming up out of the waters and you are my son whom I love. Jesus
Mhm.
teaches us to pray, our Father in
Mhm.
heaven. And it just makes me think God's ultimate goal for me
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
it's John 15, abide in me,
In me.
in
Mhm.
you, make your home in me, your
Mhm.
abode.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that takes some pressure off of us, especially
Mhm.
men and women who are in ministry, you're serving, you're giving, you're loving. And at the end of the day,
Mhm.
you're the beloved. And,
Mhm.
and God just invites us into relationship with him.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important question.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not about doing; it's about being in that relationship. You
Mhm.
know, uh, whether it's you and Adrian, Leah and myself, whatever, husbands and wives, they might have that anniversary coming up, and our wife,
25 this year, Gary.
25, way to go! That's awesome. That's a benchmark. It's a
We're
benchmark.
getting there.
Yeah, you are.
How long have you and Leah been married?
It'll be 48 this year.
We'll
Yeah.
never catch you.
It, yeah, well, let me tell you one quick story because it speaks into this. Many, many years ago, there was an older minister who spoke into my life very powerfully. And he said, Gary, and he and his wife had celebrated like 53 years of marriage. And he said, do not wait until your 50th to celebrate your 50th anniversary. And I said, what does that mean? He said, you celebrate every anniversary like it was your 50th. Well,
Wow.
our 17th anniversary was coming up. And I took his sage advice to heart. And I planned a 50th anniversary, all as a surprise to Leah. I got 50 yellow long stem roses delivered to the dinner table in the restaurant downtown, her
Mhm.
favorite color, and all as a surprise. And I had the carriage waiting outside of the restaurant to take us on a horse drawn carriage right after dinner. We stopped at a park with a fountain, and I got down on my knees and I did the wedding vows. My wife was an interpreter for deaf children for
Mhm.
years. And so I learned the wedding vows in sign language, and I asked her, uh, I just did the vows again, and she was just crying. And then I
My.
took out an anniversary ring, a new ring that I had bought for her. And that man's advice has stayed with me.
Mm.
That and so and the reason I bring it up is on an anniversary, we don't go to McDonald's for a fast meal deal. We sit in a restaurant with beautiful tablecloth, dishes, silverware, whatever. But it's a table for two, not for 12.
Mhm.
And that's what we want with a wife. Well, Jesus does that with us in Psalm 23. You
Mm.
prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I just want you to come and sit at this table for two.
Mm.
I want you to be with me. And I have thought of that so many times. And throughout my day, I just shut the phone off, the computer down, whether I go out and walk. I know that Jesus wants me at a table with him for two at some point in time during the day, just to be, not to do, but to be.
Well, and I think about that with you and Leah and how different it would be if you sat down at that dinner and you just said, I'd like to share with you a few things I'd like to see changed in your life. I really want to see you grow in these areas. These are my goals for the next 17 years versus I just adore you. I
Mhm.
love you so much. I just want to be with you. And I mean, I hear that story and I'm like, man, I want to do that with Adrian. I think she would love it. And it's such a great picture of how God just pursues our heart
Mhm.
to be
Mhm.
with us. But
Yeah.
I have this mindset every time I sit with him.
Mm. Mhm.
He's going to
Mhm.
tell me
Yeah.
how unsatisfied he is with me and all the things he wants to see me change.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
moments, we have heart to hearts with our fathers who love us.
Mhm.
Father disciplines the one he loves. But boy, we have to live into that
Mhm.
captivating, really kind of Song of Solomon reality of
Yeah.
being pursued by the love of God.
Yeah. I do believe that many of us grew up in homes
Mm,
where we earned love or we earned affection, affirmation. And uh, it's not in any way a criticism of parents. It's just the culture
mm,
impact upon us. And it's a mind shift, be transformed by the renewing of the mind. You already brought that up. And to where we do not earn God's love.
mhm.
We receive it, we sit in it, we embrace it. And the more I understand how well I am loved, only then am I able to love well. Only then am I able to love well.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Mm.
Well, buddy, tell us a little bit about a comment you made earlier. You talked about pilgrimage into the wilderness, and talk about how can not just Jeff, but how can all of us, wherever we're doing ministry, take men intentionally on pilgrimage into the wilderness for
Mm.
life impact?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking that. It's probably the place in my life where I've experienced the most um transformation
Mhm.
personally and really coming out of that like, oh, I'm quiet, I'm alone with God. My youth pastor who introduced me to a place called the Algonquin Provincial Park, which is a connection of lakes up in Canada, north of Toronto, he used to say that the wilderness is a microcosm of my life. And
Oh,
when I get into the wild, the things that I'm facing at home, I find myself facing here. And what that thing I'm facing is me. It's like
mm,
I'm the same person no matter what the context.
yeah.
But a pilgrimage, and especially getting into the wilderness, the Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness.
Hmm.
I think when men, particularly, but Adrian and I will go on a couples wilderness trip this summer with some other couples, and I've found it to be a place where I pull myself intentionally away from all
Hmm.
the distractions. My phone doesn't work out there. Nobody's calling me.
Hmm.
I, after a couple days, start to just slow down. When
Hmm.
my mind slows down, then my body starts to slow down,
Hmm.
and I can begin to hear in a clear sort of a way.
Hmm.
We actually design our pilgrimage trips based on a formation process that Robert Mulholland talks about in his book, Invitation to a Journey. And
Hmm.
so, day one, our focus is awakening. And he would say that in our spiritual life, there's a moment where each of us are awakened to what God does. And then we
Hmm.
just enter into this new, following after Jesus. But before long, this classic kind of spiritual formation model says we come into a phase of purgation. So
Hmm.
it's hard. Things
Hmm.
get upside down. So our second day in a pilgrimage is almost always our hardest day. We push the hardest, the deepest, and it turns out, Gary, when you when we push ourselves, it opens us up in a fresh way to each
Hmm.
other. We start to be more vulnerable. I
Hmm.
actually realize I need you. the stuff that gets shared in confession around the fire is because we did a hard thing together, and I trust that you actually have my back. And
Oh, that's good. Hmm.
I realize I need to get this stuff out.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
a wilderness is a great place. We often say what's said in the wilderness stays in the wilderness. So we
Hmm.
have this kind of double vaulted space, but
Hmm.
purgation
Hmm.
opens us up to the presence of God. And then the next day is illumination. That's usually a solo day where I just pull away. And illumination is really God, um, not my will, but yours be done.
Hmm.
Give me eyes to see the way that you're seeing my
Hmm.
life, the world. And so that movement of growth where I begin to see things the way you see it. And then the fourth day is union. And it's what Mulholland calls stage four is really coming into my deepening relationship with God.
Hmm.
Something about just hearing the loon sing, sitting by a fire, watching
Yeah.
shooting stars disappearing into the wild, that just awakens a person's heart to what God wants to speak to them.
Yeah, praise be to God. That's cool. And you don't have to have a church staff that is ginormous for people to experience this.
Yeah.
And a husband and a wife can do it. A father and a son, or a father and a daughter can do it. A band of brothers can do it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I love to get out for 4, 5, 6 days into the wild.
Hmm.
Sometimes just setting aside everything,
Hmm.
walking into a park and disappearing on a trail for 6 hours,
Hmm.
um, getting a cabin in the woods,
Hmm.
getting away from some things. There's something about, nature is one of the places where people most deeply connect with God. And
Hmm.
we're living in a society that is stripping that away from us.
Yeah.
And so we lose some of the mystery and the wonder. And I just think it's been transformative for my life and love seeing people step into the wild.
Yeah. Praise be to God. One word then before we wrap up. Um, Elders in the church, just how you spoke a moment ago about pilgrimage. It just breathes life into you. And as you see people experience pilgrimage and the impact that it has on them, something that breathes life into me is when elders awaken to
Mm, mm,
the work of God in their lives individually, that when a man of God serving as an elder becomes so strong in the Lord because of walking well with God in his skin. And then he creates a healthy team of
mhm,
leaders in the church. He's a catalyst for creating healthy team. And that team then can, in the power of the Spirit, create a healthy church and healthy things grow. And so
mm,
this is what breathes life into me: the
mm.
shaping of, the mentoring of, investing in the lives of elders until no longer can do so. What word of counsel would you have for me and or elders? You work in a church, obviously, with elders. What word of counsel would you have for us?
Mm. Well, first, thank you all for
Mhm.
serving. It is often it's behind the scenes, it's the prayerful work. Thank you for, and Gary, this is just you specifically, and our elders here at the Creek. Some elders get caught feeling like they're running a business.
Mhm.
And our elders, it's just so evident you are serving the church. And there's
Mhm.
a vast difference. And I just want to say thank you for serving and for carrying the towel, washing the feet. It's really an honor and a blessing. And but then to answer your question, I think it was Howard Thurman who said, don't ask yourself what the world needs.
Mhm.
Ask yourself what makes you come alive.
Mhm.
What the world needs is a man who is fully alive.
Mhm.
I think Irenaeus said the same thing. The glory of God is a man who's fully alive. And it really echoes
Mhm.
Jesus's words in John 10.
Mhm.
I have come that you might have life and have it to the full.
Yeah.
So the thing that we need is kind of like what you talked about. We need men who are serving as elders, not out of duty, but because I am living my life in a way that I'm just fully alive.
Mhm.
Well, that is generative.
Mhm.
And elders we need the generativity of God's Spirit through you. And so pay attention to what makes you come alive
Oh,
and give yourself permission to lean into that.
that's powerful. What a great word. And it's a good word to bring our conversation to a close. Jeff, thank you for saying yes to Jesus with your life. And, it's very easy for me to say, I can see Jesus in you. The Holy Spirit is bearing his fruit in your life. And we're grateful that you said yes to come to be a part of the Creek very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a great day in the Lord and enjoy.